Georgia, Alabama. Sports Live will be your go-to for all your favorite high school and collegiate games this fall. From the Carver Tigers to the Columbus Blue Devils, the Harris County Tigers and Northside Patriots, the Glenwood Gators and Calvary Christian Knights, the Pacelli Vikings and Brookstone Cougars, to the Smith Station Panthers and Russell County Warriors, from CVCC, Pirates basketball and baseball, and every tournament from here to Macon. We are the #1 destination for anything happening in East Alabama and West Central Georgia. Be sure to like and follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and stay tuned for even more amazing ways we will be bringing Georgia, Alabama Sports Live to you this upcoming season. We can't wait to come see you next. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. We got Thrift, Barringer, and we got Richard Holdridge. My voice is about to give out after calling 7 straight state championship games the last 3 days. Richard, we had a lot of fun, but thank you so much for being on and being my partner here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
Well, Thrift, it was an honor to be your partner in Statesboro. We had a lot of fun, a lot of great football championships in the GIAA, but I'm just glad to be home.
Yeah, I am too, Richard. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk about that fun here in just a little bit. We are presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, Gordy Eye Care, CVCC, Pepsi, and Zaxby's. Makes your Listen Sports Visions radio show every Monday and Thursday, 92.1 Smooth R&B. And we have a new thing. It is an hour-long Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And we're dropping again this Wednesday at 5. And we'll talk about what we got coming up this week and more, but we got a lot of things we're going to recap, and let's go ahead and talk about the weekend. And Richard, instead of me doing it, I'm going to let the floor be yours, because I appreciate you coming with me down to Statesboro and kind of give us a recap of Thursday night, specifically as you were able to call something very near and dear to this city, as we have another state champion in flag football.
Absolutely right, Thrift. So we got down to Statesboro, a home of Georgia Southern at Paulson Stadium, and got to start off calling the girls flag football championship between St. Anne Pacelli and Georgia Christian. And Pacelli three-peats as they defeat Georgia Christian 30-0. That is 3 straight state champions for the Pacelli Lady Vikings and Coach Zach Cochran. You got to go down on the field and interview Coach Cochran. It was a great moment for the city. A lot of fans that made that trip to Statesboro. And then later that night, we had the 8-man football, as we had Sherwood Christian out of Albany ended up defeating Westminster Schools of Augusta. Just a great game, and it was just a battle of two teams, and Sherwood comes out on top and defeats the defending state champions. And then on Friday,
hold up,
we had – I knew you were going to do that, Thrift. It's okay. Go ahead.
Richard, I knew you wanted to get into Friday. I just wanted you to get into Thursday.
The floor is yours, Thrift. You take it away.
I just wanted you to get Thursday, not Friday, man. But listen, staying on Thursday, I actually want to kind of talk about Coach Cochran and Pacelli winning 3 straight state championships. Richard, you did a beautiful job on the call for GIAA.TV. Thank you again to Tony Morgan, Clint Morgan, Tommy Marshall, Stan Whitlock, Brett Taylor, all of them entrusting us to be the voices of the GIAA state championships. And you were right. It was a lot of fun in that flag. It was dominated by Pacelli. They're the best team. Everyone's looking up to them. They're on the mountaintop right now, and it's going to take a lot to bring them down. But Coach Cochran winning 3 straight, he's by far the best flag football coach we have going in our area. If not one of the best in the state, definitely one of the best in our area. And he's got a fantastic program. And then that 8-man football, Richard, we called him Trip Tebow. His name was Trip Roberts. He was wearing number 15 for Sherwood. over 100 yards rushing, 200 yards passing, and they scored 36 in that 8-man game. That was actually a lot of fun. You don't know 8-man. There's no they're missing one skill set player and then 2 offensive linemen. There's only 3 offensive linemen and 3 defensive linemen, as there are only 8 people playing on the field. And we learned a lot, didn't we, Richard?
Yeah, we did learn a lot, and what a great win by Sherwood Christian, 36-26 over Westminster Schools of Augusta. And it was just a great moment. And it was really the first time that we've called 8-man football. So what they do is they actually shorten the field. And so the out of bounds lines were right where the numbers are on the football field. So it's pretty interesting to see. It was interesting to see just 3 offensive linemen. And it was a little more skill set when it comes to 8-man football of 2 talented teams. But Sherwood Christian out of Albany is your state champions.
Yeah, Chris Murphy. He was the coach for Westminster as they lose, trying to go back-to-back. Levi Murphy played okay, but it was definitely the night for the Eagles. Then on Friday night, Richard, you got to call 1A classification in Edmund Burke as they took down Robert Toombs in what was a really fun game, man. Christian Mixon, talking about making plays, he was making magic happen.
Yeah, it was a great game. Edmund Burke, they were up 20-10. Robert Toombs, that doesn't have a traditional quarterback. They like to run the football with a single wing T offense, and they were able to cut it to 3. But Edmund Burke was able to hold on to the football and get the win for the state championship.
In 1A, in 3A, we had defending champion Valwood losing to Deerfield Windsor 19-15. That game came down to the wire, man. Valwood was up 15-7 heading into the 4th. 2 touchdowns scored late. Lane Seals, I said on there, was directing traffic better than a crossing guard. Apparently, it got some laughs with people that were watching on it. But we had great calls. And another great call from Richard was on Saturday. We had the All-Star game at 2 p.m. At 5 p.m., Brentwood dominated SGA, that Southwest Georgia Academy in 2A. The game wasn't close. It was all Brentwood and Adam Lord winning it all. But in 4A, there was a kid by the name of Major Simmons, a quarterback for FPD. Richard started calling him Major Simmons. So it was great call on that, Richard. And that was the heavyweight we've been waiting all week for. We had the 4A classification, undefeated Bullock in their hometown, taking on defending champion FPD. It lived up to everything. It was 0-0 at halftime. Final score was 14-15. It lived up to the hype, Rich.
Yeah, Bullock Academy winning it in front of their home fans against the defending 4A state champion FPD and winning a state championship for the first time in a while. It's hard to go back into the history books to see when was the last time they won a state championship. I know I said on the broadcast first time in school history, but I think that they were in a different classification. They were a different team back then, so we'll stay with school history. But yeah, it was a great time for Bullock Academy, going undefeated. Perfect season for Bullock Academy as they take down FPD.
What a job by Bullock Academy to win the championship. And it was a lot of fun there, Richard. And that was pretty much summed up the weekend in Statesboro. We had a great time with all the crew, all Brett's crew, JJ, Kyle Tucker, Aiden Matzinga, Brett Taylor, Jake Morgan. Just a phenomenal time, man. Mandy, we enjoyed hanging out with the crew, getting to do a fabulous ESPN level 6-camera angle production. And it was just a lot of fun to crown some champions this past weekend.
And I do want to give a special shout out to the caterers there at Paulson Stadium.
Oh, hospitality. That's how you get Richard fired up, man. He loves some good hospitality food.
We weren't really taking meals. Like during halftime and between the games, we were snacking. We were going down to the hospitality room. They had shrimp and grits. They had chicken. They had barbecue. It was great, and a great job by the catering team by setting that up.
Yeah, sliders. I mean, they took care of us, man. Everything was absolutely delicious, and thank you again for Georgia Southern being gracious hosts. All right, enough of that, Richard. Let's talk about what happened in our area. As we watched some of these games on Friday night, we weren't there to cover them, but we still were watching them, I promise you, so we can give our insight. And let's start with the 2 teams that are live right now in our area. Let's go to Otis Spencer Stadium, where the Carver Tigers take down Ringgold 35-14, Richard. In this one, it was close in that first half, but Carver, Matthew Mungan, hitting on all cylinders. Coach Coffey's team scored 30 points or more. It seems like 7 straight weeks. The offense is playing elite. The defense doesn't give up much. And I think right now, we thought it was going to be Callaway in the semifinal. They lost, Richard. So Carver looks like they got themselves a nice path all the way to Mercedes-Benz State Championship. Good win against Ringgold.
Well, they're going to have a very tough opponent next because they take on the defending 2A state champions, Pierce County. Still going to be at Otis Spencer Stadium. I cannot wait for this game.
Wow.
I actually think because Stevens County from Toccoa upset Callaway, and then you've got Appling County that might be a next opponent that Carver could end up facing. Big shout out to Jeremy Hayes. That's actually his alma mater. But that could possibly be the semifinal is Carver and Appling County. But I think that Pierce County, who their only loss this season was to Appling County. This is how good the Bearcats are from Pierce County. Stetson Bennett went there. So you know this is a good high school team that is Carver is facing in the quarterfinals.
And we hope to be there covering it, Richard, whether it be you, Chris, somebody's going to be there Friday night, give you coverage live from Pierce County at Carver 2A state, 2A court. I can't get it out right there. The 2A state quarterfinals. As it's going to be a lot of fun, man. This is probably the biggest test Carver's had since taking on Northside, or I guess you can say Sumter County, not Northside, Harris County would have been, I guess, their last biggest test of someone this caliber. We can't wait for that Friday night. We'll preview that here in the next segment. Let's go to the other team that played, and that's Central. And for the first time in school history, they beat Hoover, and they win 17-7.
Yeah, great win. Andrew Alford starts it off 7-0 to Dalen Upshaw. I saw this game on the NFHS network. It was pretty much 17-7 for most of the game. Central's defense going back and forth. They got a punt. Hoover threw an interception. This was just a battle between two just powerhouses in 7A. Just a defensive effort. And guess what? We get to do this all over again. We had this in 2018, 2019, 2021, 2023, and now 2024.
I can't wait to see. It's just, and listen, both teams are 2-2. Central won in 18 and 23. Thompson won in 19 and 21. These are the best two teams in the 7A and the best two teams in the state of Alabama since 2017. And I think I'm not going to give a prediction yet. I'm not ready to do that yet. We've still got 2 weeks to preview this game, Richard. But, man, if you would have told me at the beginning of the playoffs, this is the matchup we're going to get yet again, I'd have said there's no way. Auburn's too good. Opelika's good. I think Hoover's good. There's no way Thompson and Central are both going to make it back. And, man, was I wrong. I was also wrong in the fact that I thought Central was going to be able to host a playoff game. And they not only hosted one, they hosted 2. And they're back in the state championship. And Alford, how about him, man? What if he's able to win this? You're talking about going down maybe as one of the greatest, if not the greatest Central quarterback of all time. Stats back it up. And now you have 2 titles to your name. The other quarterbacks all have 1. He's with them. There's 3 quarterbacks. Griff Gordy. I forgot the quarterback's name in 2018. And then now Andrew Alford. He gets this too. He has more than anyone other quarterback ever in Central history.
Yeah, and it would be Central's 4th championship. They would go back-to-back. Of course, they won one in 18, and they won one back in 1993 with Griff Gordy. So this game is going to be December the 4th. It's going to be on a Wednesday night at Protective Stadium in Birmingham. They're calling it the Super 7. They call it, Battle for a Blue Map. You know that terminology in Alabama. I'm not really sold on that whole terminology. I'm not really familiar with that terminology, but that's really what they're playing for is a blue map. And it's back at Protective Stadium. I know that this This state championship has been in Tuscaloosa. It has been at Auburn. They were entertaining the idea of making it down in Mobile, but Protective Stadium, nice state-of-the-art facility in Birmingham, the home of UAB, and that's going to be where the state championships for all classifications in Alabama are going to be. And I do want to say this, Thrift, because the 16 schools that we cover, there are 2 schools that are left.
Yep.
But LaGrange is still alive. Manchester is still alive. And I believe that is it, because everybody else got eliminated. Callaway got eliminated against Stevens County. So Manchester goes on the road to take on Lincoln County. And LaGrange, for the first time since 2008, is in the quarterfinals. They are on the road taking on North Hall.
Okay. Well, we will be we'll give nuggets with them. But congratulations to both Carver and Central in moving on to the next round for Central State Championship for Carver. They move on to the quarterfinals. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, we'll preview Carver's game. We'll give little nuggets about Central, but we'll go more in depth next week. As you may mention, Richard, that is next Wednesday. So we'll have next Sunday's show to kind of give you our predictions for that. But we will talk Carver, Pierce County. It's defending 2A champion taking on a team in Carver who's been a dynasty in 3A. They won it in 4A, and then now they're back down in 2A. Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show will be right back after this.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade Water, always in motion.
Welcome back, everyone, to Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. All right, Richard, I'll let you go first. Give me some quick nuggets, quick hitters on you think about this matchup between Carver and Pierce County. You talk about a hard-hitting affair. This is between these 2 teams, man.
Well, I was looking at some of the teams that Pierce County played, and I was seeing some of the scores, trying to see common opponents. They have pretty much dominated everybody. They do have that one loss against Appling County. Carver's kind of the same way. Their defense has really carried them, and they have dominated this season as well. They've played some teams, higher classifications like Harris County. I thought that the first 2 rounds, it was just an easy path for Carver. Carver's been in this position before. They lost in the quarterfinals 2 years ago to Oconee County. Remember, they beat Harlem on the road, but they just happened to be a number 2 seed, and then the other team was a number 3 seed, so they got to host. Well, 3A and below do it a little bit different. Carver is the number 2 overall seed, so they don't have a GHSA coin flip. Carver, because they're the number 2 seed, would host all the way until the semifinals until they get to the championship. 12-1 season, just an incredible win by Ringgold. They beat Farrell 54-7, and then they beat Ringgold last week 35-14. It starts with the quarterback of Matthew Mungden. He has got weapons. He's got Braylon Jakes. He's got Jacoby Caslin, who had over 1,000 yards rushing. 1,000 yards receiving. Braylon Jakes, also a top receiver. You have Tristan Givens on that defensive line. Ontarius Watts, some great DBs, some linebackers. Carver is loaded. And I'm looking forward to having Coach Pierre Coffey on the Muskogee County Coaches Show, as we are going to talk about Pierce County and the opponent they're facing. This is a team that beat a very good Columbia team 31-24 last week. I mean, they dominated Jackson. Remember, Jackson beat Hardaway 24-14 to start the season. They dominate Jackson in the first round, 56-0. Some of the games that they have played, they have beaten Tattnall County. Remember, that's where Shannon Sharp went to school. They beat them 37-7. They beat, Brooks County. It was a closer game. Brooks County, remember, when we were talking about the top rankings in 2A, Brooks County was up there as one of the top teams. They only beat them 17-14. New Hampstead, they beat 48-7. Coosa Christian, 41-7. Brantley County, 42-8. They've been dominant.
Yeah, they have been dominant for sure, Richard. And looking at this Carver team, since losing to Harris County back August the 30th, it was week 3 of the season. They have averaged 45.8 points per game. They have given up 4 points per game. They have beaten everybody in dominant fashion. And this team is elite, Richard. And I think that Carver at 11 and 1. I think they have everything what it takes. 12 and 1. No, they are 11 and 1 because they've only played 2 games and they played 10 regular season games. So they are 11 and 1. Max Preps gave them an extra game. Said they beat Washington and Ringgold in the same night. So I don't know why it hasn't on that. It got me and Richard confused.
Yeah, I
but
did.
Either way, this team is still averaging over 40 points a game. They're only giving up 4 points a game, and they are dominant. They take on Pierce County. Now, in my opinion, Pierce County, if you look at the schedule, they probably a little bit more tougher competition compared to Carver because that's Spencer 7-3, Sumter County, Northside was 5-5 this year. Shaw was 5-5, Hardaway 4-6. We know about Columbus. They did beat a decent Whitewater team earlier in the year, but Whitewater's also out of the playoffs now. I don't know. It's a coin flip in my opinion. I guess you really could say either. Both schedules are pretty even. I think being at home matters, and it should matter. And I'm making a PSA to everybody out there in the Columbus area. You need to be in Otis Spencer Stadium 7 o'clock this weekend supporting your Carver Tigers. It needs to be a packed house. If not, it's like it's a neutral field for Pierce County. It's got to feel like they are in some toxic atmosphere. And I hope that that's what happens this Friday night. And if that does happen, give me the dark side defense to make enough plays and a low-scoring affair. Give me a 21-17, 21-14 type hard-hitting. You're talking about hard-hitting and talking about lightning speed on defense. This is going to be as close to a college-level type defensive game we're probably going to see in the playoffs.
Thrift, I want to go on a little rant here about the Carver fans, that they are not showing up to these games. They did not show up to the first 2 rounds. Maybe they're waiting to see what happens because they felt they were going to win those first 2 games and that they will show up against Pierce County. It is Thanksgiving weekend. We do expect.
It's not just Carver fans either, Richard. I'm glad. I know what you're saying, but this is a PSA to everybody in Columbus. There's no other teams alive, so you should be cheering for the local team. Now we are all Carver fans. We should all be cheering them on and be there on Friday night.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Thrift. Otis Spencer Stadium should be packed out with Carver fans and fans for football. If you're a football fan, you're supporting Carver because they have been the team that's still left in the playoffs, but they have been the standard when it comes to winning championships, getting to the championship. They went there in 2021. They went to the semifinals last year, the quarterfinals 2 years ago. This has been the standard when it comes to making deep runs in the playoffs.
Richard, coming up in about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, right after the Central State Championship game, we're going to go ahead and start giving our awards. Even if Carver's still playing and they haven't played in the state yet, we're going to go ahead and do our preview show 2 Sundays from now. Not next Sunday, but the Sunday after that. Mark it down. We're going to give you all Tri-City, all Georgia, Alabama Sports Live teams. We're going to say who are some of our coaches of the year. And this will also coincide with doing the Sports Visions Awards luncheon, by the way, Rich, which we will be there. So after that awards luncheon, kind of help us when we give ours that Sunday night here on the Georgia, Alabama Sports Live show. Looking forward to being able to do that because I know Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame, they had theirs come out. When we agree with a lot of their lists, so we partner with them. So we're gonna have our own as well, and looking forward to being at the Sports Vision Awards luncheon December the 12th. Mark it down. It's the #1 awards luncheon in our area. No one does it better than DJ Jones and Sports Visions, and we look forward to being there. I look forward to hosting as I am a part of Sports Vision. So are you, Richard. And then on Sunday, after the awards luncheon, we will give our all Georgia, Alabama Sports Live team. So can't wait to be able to do that, Richard. It should be a lot of fun. Okay, Rich, now let's talk about what happened this past week. All right, we talked on Wednesday about high school. We know we won't do that, Richard. We'll do that here in just a little bit. Actually, you know what? Leave it up there. I got ahead of myself. I was about to get into high school basketball. This is a rematch. This is kind of like the rubber match to say who's been the best program since 2018. I think if Central doesn't turn the football over, their defense has been playing lights out in the playoffs, only holding Hoover to 7. I think they're the better team heading into this one, and I think they're the favorite as the defending state champion.
I agree. When you have a quarterback like Andrew Alford and you have Dalen Upshaw, they're hard to stop. Now, this Thompson team, 10-3, but 3 of those losses were all by 1 point. One to Grayson, which is a 6A school in Georgia, which are still alive, and they're going to be playing for a state championship more than likely. Yep. A 1-point loss to Chalkville and a 1-point loss to Hoover. So this Thompson team could easily be 13-0.
Yep.
And they are led by their sophomore quarterback, Trent Seaburn. He won a state championship when he was an 8th grader.
And now look at him. Sophomore.
Yeah, it's incredible. I watched this Thompson Central State Championship on the NFHS Network last year. Central, if Cam Coleman does not get that go-ahead touchdown, like he was tippy-toeing that sideline, I think that Thompson just finds a way to win this because they were going for 5 straight state championships. Yep. And I know that they were motivated to get that 5th straight state championship, but Central made the plays when it was necessary, and I think that Cam Coleman was the player of the game for that just outstanding touchdown run.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Richard, and looking forward to seeing this one coming up. We'll have more preview next Sunday, as it will be December the 4th. That is next Wednesday, and we can't wait. All right, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back from break, we'll recap the high school basketball scene that we just got done. We'll talk about what we got coming up this week. And then Richard's going to update you on River Dragons and Columbus State soccer here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show.
I'm thirsty.
Try this.
Starry.
It's a lemon lime soda that's crisp, clear, and
so refreshing.
Bro, chill. It was a soda. Starry lemon lime soda. It's different.
I love Starry lemon lime soda. I know you do too, Richard. Let's talk about this past week. We talked about what happened on Tuesday. On Thursday, Glenwood took down Valley, and then they beat Horseshoe Bend. They're undefeated to start the season. Glenwood, I had them not in the top 5. When we come out with our new rankings after Thanksgiving break, Richard, I'm going to be moving some of those around. That's next Sunday, December the 1st. We're going to be moving things around, and I promise you we're going to have a new top 5 as we're going to do our rankings every other week until the end of the season. And then until Carver, after Central State Championship, we will just go ahead and do our rankings. So we'll do our rankings, basketball and football next week. The week after will be football. Next Sunday will be basketball. But how about the Gators getting a big win over Opelika?
Valley. They play
Valley.
They play Opelika on Monday.
Opelika tomorrow, and we can't wait to be there tomorrow. But go ahead and talk about that win, Richard. What was that in your opinion? Because I think we both were shocked on Thursday when we were calling state championships in Statesboro, seeing Coach Purdue's team getting a big win. Great call by Noah Shelton.
Well, Valley lost a lot of players from that team that won the state championship 2 years ago. They went to the Final Four last year. I mean, they lost Denal Dooley, Cam Dooley, Marshawn Harper was their coach. He retired. They were a rebuilding team. And I think this Glenwood basketball team is a lot better than we expected. I think when you have Swag running the point guard, Levi Pender is shooting from the outside, Tyler Sykes and Mason McCrane in the middle, this is going to be a hard team to stop. They're already 3-0. They beat Horseshoe Bend as well. So they have beaten Notasulga and Horseshoe Bend on the road. They beat Valley at home, and they face Opelika tomorrow. You can catch that game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I'm just excited about their schedule because they also will host Notasulga. They'll host Lynette. I mean, they're starting to play these teams in the AHSAA, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. We can't wait to get all of their matchups. Columbus High took down Calvary in what has been the basketball game of the year so far. It was an overtime thriller. They were down by 20 with under 6 in the 4th and come all the way back to force overtime did Calvary. But Columbus holds on, and Coach Terrence Hill's team gets a great win against a really good program. And Calvary, that's after they beat Harris County. So Another great victory. Mike Peacock was on the call for that, so great job. That was on Friday night. But I got to give a quick update, Richard, for CVCC. And that's all the games that we did for this week. I know some other teams, Central Basketball won. Kendrick Basketball has been off to a great start so far.
3-1.
3-1. Spencer, they are now starting to get ready to start their season up.
They beat Banneker.
So they're already 1-0. Carver Basketball, we already know about their hot start. So all the teams we expected big runs from this year all have gotten off to a hot start. And Pacelli, they're going to be starting up coming in December. But let's talk about CVCC because we're the home, the Pirates Athletics. The girls program off to a 1-4 start. But I'll tell you, they play some top 25 teams in the country, man. And they played Lawson State on Thursday. Robert Evans and Corey Black were there, and this game came down the wire. They lost it 66-64. They've also lost to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, who is a ranked team, by 4 at the Pearl River Classic. They lost 3 games in that Pearl River Classic. They did beat Southern Union State, and then they lost to Lawson State. I'm telling you, by the end of the year, this team's still going to be one of the top teams in this Division II of the ACCCC, Alabama Community College Conference. For the boys, they're a little bit different. They're off to a 1-5 start under Coach Mo Scott. Coach Joe Richardson is with the girls team. Micah Hoover's been playing sensational, and they have had close games. Richard, I was there when they lost by 2 to Gordon State. Buzzer beater for Gordon State, 3-pointer to win the game. CVCC was up by 1. Gordon State's a really good school. They got dominated by Southern State there in that second half and then lost to Lawson State by 2. So it's just been close games. Eventually, this team's going to get over the hump, okay? It's getting off to a little bit of a slow start now. But the fact that they're in these games, Richard, they're battling and they're being competitive, and they're also playing teams that are in higher divisions than them. I still think they have everything what it takes to be able to be competitive. Losing to Lawson State hurt, as that is a team that is in their Division II. But Gordon State's not a bad loss. Pearl River, Mississippi State, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, not a bad loss. Southern Union, Dangster, not a bad loss. But they have lost 5 straight. They take on Wallace Community College tomorrow at 7 p.m. The girls play at 5 p.m. Hopefully both those teams can get a big win heading into Thanksgiving break with some momentum. But I'm telling you, I know it's 1-5 right now, but they're still filling out who their roster is. They're playing tough teams. Give them some time. This team is going to be there in the thick of things by the end of the year.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed about CVCC Pirates and Lady Pirates, I had a chance to call them last season, is they never quit, and they're always in games. And even though, they're only there for 2 years, it takes time just to build a team up, and it's still early in the season. You talk about how competitive the Alabama Community College Conference is. That they'll be okay. I mean, they've got some pretty good teams on their schedule, and we are really excited about covering them this season.
Yeah, I'm very excited indeed, Richard. So should be a lot of fun to finish up this CVCC basketball season that turns into softball and baseball in the spring. Richard, update us on what's happened to the River Dragons. They had a tough weekend against their rival, didn't they?
They really did. They played their rival, the Carolina Thunderbirds, Friday and Saturday night at the Columbus Civic Center. And they lost on Friday night 6-0 to Carolina, and then they lost in a heartbreaker on Saturday 3-2. And so they have lost 3 straight. Right now they are tied for 4th with the Blue Ridge Bobcats, currently in first place in the Continental Division. It is looking like Athens is actually in 3rd place, and I'm looking at. Let's see real quick, because I actually had this down.
I will say,
Carolina's at 23.
Yeah, and there's some unhappy River Dragons fans right now. But listen, getting off to a hot start and having a historic season doesn't mean championship. We saw it last year, so I don't care how they play in November. I care more about how they're playing towards the end of the year. And I think if we're going to lose to Carolina, let's get it out now, right?
Yeah, because it's really not how you play in the regular season. It's how you play in the playoffs. And I think that the River Dragons will be there. when it's all said and done. I firmly believe that. Oh, by the way, Baton Rouge Zydeco is in first place. I was actually looking at my notes, and it is Baton Rouge. They have 25 points. Carolina has catapulted up to second place with those 2 wins over Columbus. The Athens Rock Lobsters, that was a team that beat Columbus in a shootout last week at the Columbus Civic Center. They are in third place. Columbus is tied with the Blue Ridge Bobcats with 19 points. Now, Columbus will take on the Zydeco this Wednesday, a rare Wednesday night game at the Columbus Civic Center.
Yeah.
And then they go on the road to take on the Zydeco, and then they go on the road to face a familiar foe, the Mississippi Seawolves, where Jay Croup got traded to. So they will go down to Biloxi.
That?
Yeah, Thanksgiving
and
weekend.
By the way, December the 7th, Richard, Saturday, December the 7th, those Mississippi Seawolves are coming back. So that'll be the first time Jay Croup will be back here.
He'll get a warm welcome.
Columbus. I actually know they did play back. Actually, sorry, they did play earlier in the year.
Let me tell you something about Jay Croup. Jay Croup will have his number hanging from the rafters at the Columbus Civic Center. I can guarantee you that. Chase Fallis is the other River Dragon that has his number in the rapids. Jay Croup up in the rafters. Jay Croup will be the other River Dragon.
All right. So again, this Wednesday, go out and support your Dragons. You know, we got that Columbus River Dragons fan page. I mean, there is some rabid fans, man. And they got Baton Rouge. Go out, show support, 7:05. And we hope to have Tom Callahan on here coming up on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. We may even get him for a Thursday Thanksgiving special show to talk about these River Dragons and what kind of start they're getting off to. If not, it won't be this week. It'll be next week. I promise you we're going to have him on. And then Columbus State, they beat Catawamba 6-0. They're moving on in the next round, Richard. I think this team's got national championship written all over it under Coach Italy.
Yeah, great win over Catawamba College. They will play in the third round December the 6th, and then the quarterfinals will be December the 8th. The Final Four is December the 14th and the 16th. So exciting. Oh, and how about this, Thrift? I hate to, but we have a special guest on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show, and I'm excited to bring this guest on. We just saw him do the Kutsu Sports Show.
Yeah.
So I would like for you. Yeah, let's bring him on.
Bring on the VP of Content. That's the man. His name is Rick Beach. Ricky, what's up, man? Great show as always. And look, I got to bring this up, man. You were live from Jordan-Hare last night under that mess. How was that, dude?
I was in the cut, wasn't I, man? That was crazy. It was a good atmosphere, the understatement of the century. That was a great atmosphere. Very loud. You know, you wouldn't think that's a 4-win team, 5-win team. Just go making all kind of noise. The energy at Jordan-Hare is unmatched. I think when you look at the last, 2 biggest games at Jordan-Hare have been Texas A&M victories. You look back to Cadillac's interim head coach game. That was an insane atmosphere. And the other night was just, you know, the beauty of college football. You don't get that in a 500 NFL team beats if the Chiefs lost to the Panthers today, that atmosphere wouldn't have been in Charlotte. But it was at Jordan-Hare the other night. It's what makes college football what it is. How great it is. And just, them fans didn't give a crap. They might not even go to a bowl game this year, but they beat Texas A&M on the, at night. And, they got out on the stage and celebrated.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Rick. And look forward to having you on more with the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show and having you on Unsolicited Hot Take to talk about those Georgia Bulldogs who just clinched, because apparently the scenario that I thought was impossible happened. Not only, usually it takes like a couple of weekends for all those upsets to happen. Very rarely do they happen in one Saturday, and that is what just happened this past Saturday. We'll talk about that on Solicited Hot Take. But, Rick, as you just did your Kudzu Sports Show, man, just kind of update the Georgia Alabama Sports Live audience for those who didn't tune into your show on a great football season for Harris County and what's going on in the county so far.
Yeah, football season ended 7-4, 7-3 regular season after an 11-win season. Phenomenal back-to-back years for Coach Watson. People looking at the schedule before the season, 4 or 5 wins was the projection for Harris County. But you beat all your rivals for the first time. You did all these, it was a great season. But, it gets overshadowed again in Harris County. The female sports, girl sports are just cross country number 2 in the state. You have flag football wins the region, number 1 seed going into the state tournament, and softball just happens to win the state championship. So in basketball is number 3 in the Georgia Alabama Sports Live girls basketball poll. So female sports just dominate in the county. And I talked about a little bit on kudzu, GHSA going to this. If you finish top up here, you go up. You finish in the bottom 5 of your classification, they'll bump you down. And think Harris County is going to get affected by female sports. They're going to make all the boys sports go up a classification because the girl sports are just dominating in the county. And it's going to make it even harder for the male sports to try to compete because, you're looking at a team that have to go up to 5A just because of the girl sports.
Rick, you are the defensive coordinator for the Harris County flag football team.
Yeah, I knew you had to ask it.
By the way, Cricket Collie, is she not the best quarterback in our area? I mean, I know it's not. Serenity Hickman's doing a great job with Columbus. How did your defense be able to stop Serenity Hickman? I know Alexandria Lofton didn't play in that Columbus game, but what was the game plan to try to stop Serenity Hickman?
First, I answer the best quarterback in the area. Cricket is the best athlete in the area. Male,
okay,
female.
There you go.
You got to think she's lettered in softball, basketball, golf, flag football. She's on the Raider team on JROTC, and just newsflash, she's going to be on the track team this year. So she'll let her in another sport coming up, and she's a starter on the basketball. So she don't just play these sports; she's a starter. She's a big role in all these sports, and flag football just happens to be what she dominates in. And yeah, she's, I don't think Coach Moss would be upset if I said she's the best quarterback in this area. I would take her over anybody in the state. The way she runs the system, her athleticism. You saw her on defense. She got the interception. But what we did with Columbus, it starts, look, flag football is no different than tackle football. It's not the trenches. You got to get a pass rush. If you can create havoc, you could cause problems. And, we was fortunate enough that night to get a little bit of pressure, cause a little issues going on, had a couple of interceptions. And then you have to, try to make money off those interceptions. And we were able to do it on one of them and got the win.
Yeah, let's talk about your team in the playoffs for flag football for people that don't understand. For one, you got kind of a long layoff, man, until playoffs start, which is not until next week. Talk about what your team's doing. What are the rest of the flag football teams doing? Do you know when the seedings come out? Like, how long do you have to wait before you know who your opponent's going to be?
Yeah, so we got the seedings have come out. We get Central Macon in that first round, or Central out of Macon in the first round, December 5th. But, Coach Moss does a great job laying it out for these girls in advance, what we're going to be doing, the schedule. So they know the schedule going in. They know what we're going to be doing each practice. And look, flag football is not as hard as tackle football as far as workload. You don't have to go into these practices and grind them. And, girls catch on. They know what the mission is. So they know what our mission is. They know what's expected out of them. And they go to practice for 2 hours, bust their tails. And, hopefully we'll get them for a few days this week, then get a break. My dog's acting crazy over here in my studio. So we get a break, and then we, just get ready for that game on the 5th.
Yeah,
2 games
can't wait for that.
5th.
Yeah, 2 games and continue moving forward. Columbus, Harris County, Pacelli just won a state championship. Central's about to win a state championship. Richard, we could have multiple flag football teams. I'm telling you, it's not just county. It's every school in our area, Rick. Girls sport is dominating, man. It is just – I've been saying that about basketball, been saying that about softball, flag football, volleyball. Girls sports is just a little bit ahead of, seems like, the boys in terms of, statewide success, if that makes sense.
You know what I say this, and nobody can ever be able to put their finger on it, but what I associate it to, especially in the county, I think these girls get into like soccer. Like we did 6U, they got these little, and they learn this competitiveness. The girls get that competitive juices flowing. When we were kids, girls played softball, and then they really didn't get serious until they got a little bit older. But now, you're playing in like kindergarten, you're playing soccer, but by the time you get to 10U softball, it's serious. And Harris County is really serious about softball. Then when you get to middle school, they got middle school softball, they got middle school flag football. So when you get to high school, you better be ready to go, because when you're a 9th grader now in Harris County, you're expected to know what the standard is for Harris County. All
right, let's talk about what we got coming up this week. We'll end the show with Rick Beat. So tomorrow we got CVCC taking on Wallace State. Rick, it's going to be a lot of fun. Girls at 5, boys at 7. Then Glenwood playing Opelika. Wow. Never thought I would be able to say that in my lifetime. But they're playing Opelika in basketball. Can't wait to see that. Coach Purdue girls play. And this is an early day. So girls are at 3. Boys are at 4:15, 4:30 on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And then on Tuesday, we'll have the Glenwood Coaches Show. We'll have Calvary taking on Hardaway. And that's pretty much it we have for the rest of the week. We'll keep up with Carver on Friday. And hopefully we may get a Kudzu Sports Show, maybe Harris County Coaches Show. But make sure to keep up and follow Kudzu Sports on Facebook and Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And we'll let you know those things that are going to be dropping the rest of this week. Isn't that right, Rick?
That's right. It's always a busy time, a little bit with Thanksgiving coming up for us, not just the players. It's nice for us to kind of get a break on that Thursday to have, high school giving us a break. But we didn't get as much because Carver game wasn't supposed to be going on because of the hurricane. It got pushed back a little bit. So, of course, our Friday nights are going to be busy, with a local team going on. Y'all more so than me.
Yeah, exactly. You know how we just keep rocking and rolling, man. Well, from Rick Beach, Richard Holdridge, make sure to watch some high school basketball. We will have a Thanksgiving special on Thursday, and make sure to follow Kudzu Sports. This is a partnership for a long time coming. If Rick Beach tries to run off, I'll go and find him, and if y'all never hear from him, you know what happened to him. It's Thrift Barringer, Rick Beach, Richard Holdridge on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show saying good night.